roof of the coach, 99 Bigfoot Motorhome, Portland, Oregon. We affectionately call it the Squatch. I recently spent the weekend getting to know my roof quite well. Spent a lot of time on my hands and knees. I don't think it had been cleaned in a while, but it's hard to say how dirty a roof really gets. I've never had to clean a roof before. So I bought the appropriate products, and after I swept it pretty well, it's a spray down product made specifically for RV roofs that you spray down and then use a sponge mop or sponge and light brush to remove the material, and then using a fresh bucket of water you sop it away. I spent a good bit of time around the vents because obviously on a roof like this, any place where something protrudes through the membrane is where you're going to get leaks, and it's where water's going to stop and puddle and dirt is going to collect and all kinds of problems. So between this vent here and the one in the very front, you can see these brackets and bolts. There's a cowling that covers over and opens and vents to the back, and I think it keeps some rain out, and I don't know if it has any effect when you're driving, but I guess it allows you to keep your vents open and drive at high speed if you want to get some air flowing through there. Once I took those vents off, you can see the discoloration. It's really actually a difference in cleanliness as well. Probably got a different amount of sun, whatever. But anyway, once I took them off, there was a lot of dirt in here, and I spent a good bit of time cleaning that out. And then around these brackets here that are screwed down through using the original hardware that holds the vent down. I decided to just go ahead and remove them to clean underneath because I want to know what's down there. I want to know that it's sealed really well. So I pulled them off, cleaned everything up really well, cleaned the brackets up really well, applied some mineral spirits locally. You don't want to use it too liberally. I guess you could damage your roof. Some people use denatured alcohol. I think other people probably just use soap and water. But the point is, you want it to be good and clean so that you can cover it up. And cover everything with a lap sealant. It's made by Dicor, self-leveling lap sealant. It's very tacky stuff. Some of the stuff that I removed before I applied new was amazing how it really had not dried, or although it cracks, it really stays very pliable. It's incredible stuff. But you can see all the nice white spots there where I covered over screws. Any of these long spots where there was a crack of some sort, you clean it up real well and apply that. You see some of these black spots, there's fungus and stuff. Some of that stuff comes up, but a lot of it doesn't. A lot of it just kind of stain the roof, but I don't think it does any harm. The biggest problems were, like I said, around these vents. These skylights were a pain because there's a nice lip here, so it's hard to work back in there, but I didn't have too many spots to seal, just many places to clean. Once I was done with the trouble spots, I moved on to the edges here, the seam between the roof membrane and the fiberglass hull nose of the cab over. I also spent some time along the edges there. I'm gonna borrow a scissor lift from work one day and go along the sides and probably reseal some of these lights. Some of them have a few cracks around them. But this weekend was all about the roof. The air conditioning unit is actually held on by a gasket and not sealed with any kind of lap sealant. I did have some water in there last week on the kitchen floor that was dripping through, and I'm not exactly sure where it came from. But I snugged up the bolts holding the air conditioning unit down to the roof, as one RV dealer suggested I do once a year, is check those. And when I was hosing this roof off liberally yesterday, I didn't get any water in the coach, which I was really happy about, considering the amount of water and the intensity. But we have some these white PVC capped vents for the plumbing system, vinyl skylight over top the shower. That yellowed structure there is the vent for the propane refrigerator. That is about it. I haven't put these cowlings back on yet, but once I get them cleaned up real well, I'll go ahead and just bolt those back down quick. The last major problem that I had, other than the rear view camera that was the first thing to get sealed was this ladder here. And I was a bit concerned. You can see there's a new sealant over on this side. When I got the coach, this post here, it wiggled a little bit and was cracked around it, and it wasn't clear whether or not water had, the sealant had broke, water had seeped through the crack and deteriorated the surface underneath. This is fiberglass here, but I was concerned that it was maybe wood underneath, and that's what deteriorated, and the screws came loose and the whole thing was shifting. Pleasantly, to my surprise, I was really happy to find out once I started cutting this back that there's just a metal plate here, and just like the ones on the side, and there's simply a bolt that goes up through the plate and holds the plate onto the end of the post, and then that plate is screwed down, and that bolt had just come loose. So I cut everything away, pulled the whole thing off, pulled the plate off, cleaned it up real well on the bench grinder with the wire wheel, and cleaned it all up real well, tightened everything up, put it back down, cleaned everything off once more, and then applied lap sealant liberally, and it's as good as the other one. So I'm really happy with all that. So all in all, I ended up scrubbing the majority of the roof with a sponge mop, and then because it was taking so many buckets of water that would get dirty and I would have to replace them again and again and again, I just scrubbed it and hosed it off with just a regular water hose. And I think it's clean enough now that I can come back up with a bucket or two of water and a sponge mop and do the roof again. But it's coming together pretty well. Once I feel pretty good about the roof, I'm going to go ahead and, after I clean it, apply a UV protecting sealant on it. It comes in a spray bottle by the same company that makes the cleaner. It's supposed to, obviously help with sun damage. You're supposed to do it, a few times a year after you clean it. You can do it even once a month if you are real anal about it. So anyway, that's the roof of a 29-foot Bigfoot motorhome.